Influence and user experience. I just came from living in San Francisco, and unfortunately I did buy a Kindle too. It seems great on the face of it, but the screen is far too small. It gets very onerous after a very few minutes of reading it. And okay, I haven't seen the bigger version supposedly aimed at newspapers. It will have to be a fantastic improvement over this other wretched thing I paid $400 for. And it's not color. The interface is horrible. I don't know who the interface engineers were. It's both physically annoying and the software interface.
But let me put it this way.
Unfortunate.
And that would actually be my argument. As a user, so I'm not buying it yet.
Kindle isn't social.
The Kindle isn't social yet. I mean, there are a lot of arguments on both sides that the Kindle it's not going to save our bacon. And it is. I don't think it. I don't.
News International going to do?
What's News International going to do?
Is anyone know News International?
More porn?
Yeah, particularly. Good question. I was just thinking in terms of paywall. So
No, well,
no.
you're going to see content go behind a paywall. My prediction on it is most of the paywall content, what people decide to put behind paywalls. Journalists and editors are a really poor value of what readers value. Did I just say that out loud?
Yes, you did.
I'm really tired. sorry, Matt. So be first.
Well, it seems to be that most of the conversations about this are how do you make money out of what you do, not how do you make money out of the skills that you have. Because you have a single manifestation, which is you write stuff, but actually the journalistic skill is much bigger than that, and that happens to be the way that you that happens to be your output. Yeah. It seems to me that there's an awful. And that's going to get difficult as we become as we can Google something or we can find it somewhere else and so on. And it seems to me that actually we focus on the output, not on the skill set. And the skill set is something you're going to have. You write well and I write really badly. But no, well. I'm overstating my skill. It's not something that I do, and that ability is great in the right context. And I've just wondered, none of the conversations ever focus on what else can you do with your skill set and the organisation that you have behind you. Because what I can do in Google is not the same as what you guys could do if I asked you to, for example. If I have an organisation that has a big conference and we need a load of material and a load of research done and it's all out there, we could all dick around doing it, but you would be way better at doing that.
Well,
I go and work in PR.
Well, no, I think
that's because they're young and beautiful.
Well, no, I think Toby, you've actually hit on something that is something that I didn't touch on, and so I think that we are going to start delivering more. Specialized information services, experiences. Community is going to. I don't think many organizations do community well yet, mostly because we've seen it as a technological problem, not an editorial or human problem. So the thing is, we try to make better commenting systems and we try to make the interfaces better, but the social intelligence is lacking.
Yeah. Well, it seems to me.
That's and let me just finish that thought. And that's a really difficult thing to talk about because it just seems way too hippie in most of these organizations.
But I think as a businessman, we're on a games company, and our world is changing like your world is. It seems to me about finding the right example, and people go, oh yeah. So what all of us do is broadcast. It's one way. It's like going to the cinema.
Yeah.
But there's plenty of restaurants that make money out of enabling the conversation to happen. And I can go to a pub and watch the band for free and buy beer, or pay a ticket to like the band and get a free pint. It doesn't matter what I pay for.
I mean, most of the stuff that I talked about, again, is focused on advertising and monetization. There are a couple of really interesting content models that haven't been done. We've got postcode blogging with Trinier, and you've got a couple of hyperlocal plays. But one of the things that we haven't seen too much of yet here, but have been really quite successful and interesting in the States, are these pro-am experiment on a pretty big scale. So Clyde Bentley at the University of Missouri has this project called My Missouri, And it's this whole idea that professional journalism covers the sort of, official end of the life of a community. And I mean community in like a physical manifestation. So, pick where you live. So Finsbury Park, where I live. You're talking about councils and, budget meetings and things like that. But then there's this rest of this lived experience of, local sports and, events and things. And we a lot of times don't have the resources or even inclination to cover that. So what they do is they, their staff journalists cover the official pro journalism stuff that we've always covered, but then they open up a platform for the community to cover itself. And the funny thing is, Clive's got this great quote, he's like, journalists are terribly bad judges of what's banal. And, they launched in 2006. This is a midterm election year. And of course, journalists thought everybody's going to be really fascinated about politics. Nope. Interested in weather, pets, and church. And that's what they wrote about. And it's like they wrote obsessively about weather, pets, and church. And they had all kinds of pictures of this, and that's what they wanted to talk about. And he's like, cool, that's fine. And they gave him a space to do that. They did a total market coverage product, so just a free sheet. Blew in some ads, increased their readership by 25,000, and the initial outlay for development was $1,000, $1,000. And they've got this great site that, they expose people to the official journalism. They're still doing the, fourth estate function, but they've given a way for the community to tell a story about itself. Stories that, professional journalists would never cover, and now we wouldn't have the resources to cover. So I think there are some really interesting ideas out there. I think it's, it's really strange. I think what's been difficult for the last several years, and it's been intensified because of the recession, is that journalism has become definition by exclusion, not definition by inclusion. We define what we don't do, but we're very resistant to expanding the definition of what we will or do. And I think that's really detrimental to what we're struggling with right now.
Closed, arrogant.
Well, look, if we define journalism as a big bag of things we don't do, we're going to define ourselves out of a job, which is what we're doing right now. So we've got to be much more expansive about what journalism is, and not just stories.